Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com with another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending May 15th, 2017. This is episode number 95 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week is from EverQuest 2 from Daybreak Games, and the news is that EQ2 is joining that bandwagon of giving away free high-level characters. Anyone who logs into the game before May 22nd, which is next Monday, is entitled to receive a free level 100 character boost. The promotion is in part way due to promote the game's latest update, GU103, the Menagerie, which adds improving grounds to the game. And every time I hear the Menagerie, I can't help but think of Magalu's Menagerie from Tales of Berseria. But prior to this, anyone could have received the character boost in the game store, but I believe this is the first time they're giving them away for free. So if you want a free level 100 character, check out EverQuest 2 sometime before next Monday. Next up, if you didn't get to try Shroud the Avatar during the last few free trial periods, make sure to give it a try now. The game is accessible for free until the end of May. It's worth mentioning though that the free trial users do face some pretty hefty restrictions in game, but it's the only way to try the game without buying it. I've yet to actually play Shroud the Avatar myself, and given that I played Ultima Online for many years, I definitely need to give this game a try. According to Steam, it averages about 150 players or so online at any given time, which isn't terrible for an in-development game. It just frustrates me a little that Richard Garriott, the guy making this game, is still begging for money in telethons for development when the guy spent over $30 million of his own money to go to the International Space Station, but he does telethons begging for 50k. But anyway, the game is free till the end of the month. Check it out. Anyway, speaking of MMORPGs on Steam, Metin 2 officially launched on Steam this last week. Yes, that Metin 2, the really old one that's still in service. The game's concurrent Steam player base averages about 4,000 players and peaks at around 8,000 every single day, and that's absolutely nuts. This means that Metin 2 has 2 times the active player base as Terra on Steam, and it's also one of the most played MMORPGs on Steam now as well. Who knew Metin 2 was such a big deal? I didn't. Up next, as for new MMORPGs on the horizon, Funcom's free-to-play revamp of the Secret World, officially called Secret World Legends, is officially launching on Steam on June 26th. Actually, I shouldn't call it an MMORPG, as Funcom seems to be trying to avoid that term for some reason, and instead calling it a shared world RPG. The game is a revamp of the Secret World and features action combat and a new system of progression. Most importantly though, all of the game's story content will now be available for free, whereas you had to buy it back during the Secret World. Anywho, it's a big release for Funcom, and I expect a first look for it as soon as it's out. Moving right along, another new game on the horizon that just got a release date is melee-only online brawler Absolver, which is set to be released on PC and PS4 on August 29th. Based on the gameplay video out for the game already, the combat looks incredibly fun and tactical. It actually looks like a traditional fighting game, but it's set in an MMO-like world with both PvE and PvP encounters. Absolver will be buy to play when it launches, and despite a release date right on the horizon, there's no word on the pricing just yet. It looks really fun, so expect a first look as soon as it's available. Next up, as for games that actually launched this week, we have Steamhammer, which launched into early access on Steam. This is yet another take at mixing RPG elements with open world sandbox elements. It's something that Worm Online first did ages ago, and now you have games like Steamhammer and even Life is Feudal MMO trying to bring that to a modern engine. The game's steampunk setting and hardcore elements also do help to make it stand apart. The game launched the mixed reviews so far and only gets about 150 or so concurrent users, according to Steam charts. It's buy to play, so you do need to pony up about 27 bucks to give it a try. I'm not sure if this game will be it, but I do think there's a lot of potential in this genre of survival sandbox with MMO/RPG elements. Up next, the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind pre-purchases get access to the game as early as May 22nd, which is 2 weeks before the official release date. Anyone who pre-purchases Morrowind Digital Upgrade, Digital Collector's Edition Upgrade, or Physical Collector's Edition anytime before launch gets early access. Early access is only available on PC, so console players do need to wait for full launch. Morrowind is a paid expansion to the game, and it's going to be adding a ton of new content to the game, and I'm curious to see the impact of the game's expansion on the game's Steam player base numbers. The game currently gets about 12,000 concurrent players on Steam alone on average, and it'll probably spike up quite a bit after the expansion launches, as is ESO is one of the most played MMORPGs on Steam. Moving right along, Wild West Online was announced this last week, and as the game's name suggests, it's a Wild West themed MMORPG being published by a company called DJ2. Sorry, no gameplay videos or any videos at all really. All you see are these screenshots, and that's all we have to work with. The game was apparently inspired by the multiplayer components of Red Dead Redemption and aims to deliver an open world PvP MMO experience like no other, namely because there won't be any questing, grinding, or levels, and it'll be set in a seamless open world. And before you get too excited though, there's no release date, and the developer is planning to raise money through Kickstarter, and you guys all know how much I love Kickstarter MMORPGs. More info is set to be revealed on May 26th, but we'll have to wait and see what's going on with this one. Next up, Poxnora is headed to the PlayStation 4 on May 23rd. The turn-based strategy/card game hybrid has been running since 2006, making it over 10 years old, but that's not stopping the game from expanding to new platforms. And unlike other console launches, Poxnora's PS4 version will launch on day one with all of the content updates that's already on the PC version. In fact, it will be cross-platform compatible as well, so players on PS4 will have access to over 2,700 cards and be able to play against PC users on the same day as launch, which is pretty incredible because most console games have separate servers. This one is cross-platform compatible. Up next, in more traditional MMORPG news, Rift just had a free weekend for their latest expansion, Starfall Prophecy, which was renamed to Prophecy of Enket. Unfortunately, that free weekend just ended yesterday, and anyone who logged into Rift through May 14th got a free copy of the latest expansion, which is valued at $19.99. Going forward, it looks like the game is back on sale for $20. Giving the game away for free for 4 days is a bit odd because Rift seems to be the most business model confused MMO ever. It launched with a subscription, went free to play, then had a bunch of free expansions, then added a paid expansion, which is this one, then gave it away to everyone for free for 4 days, and made it paid again. It's definitely a bit odd, but I suspect anyone who wanted the free expansion already got it. Next up, IMC Games, makers of Tree of Savior, finally announced that the game's major balance update is set to go live on May 16th, which is tomorrow. The update will be revamping the game's combat stats and will also include a free DLC pack, which includes a bunch of in-game items. If you haven't played Tree of Savior in a while, perhaps now is a great time to return. The game still averages about 3,200 players online at any given time, which is still excellent, plus the game's music is phenomenal. If you want to hear the music without playing the game, MMOs.com/music, we got the full soundtrack over there. It's got amazing music. Right along, Dynasty Warriors Unleashed from Nexon is celebrating over 5 million downloads since its launch about 5 weeks ago, which is about 1 million downloads a week. The game is a mobile adaptation of the long-running series, and having played a ton of these games on console, as well as the quickly shut down Dynasty Warriors Online from Area Games, perhaps I should give this one a try. It is doing well though, it's doing quite well right now. Next up, some industry-related news from Nexon. Remember how Activision Blizzard reported record revenues and profits last week? Well, Nexon did too, reporting the highest ever revenue in a single quarter. They'd made about 660 million USD in revenues in the last 3 months, thanks to the continued success of Dungeon Fighter Online. That 660 million is up 30% over last year. Nexon's North American revenues, on the other hand, were only 3% of their total sales, and China took about 59% and Korea took 27%. It's amazing how tiny the North American market is for Nexon. In semi-related Nexon news, that ReZero event I mentioned last week actually started this week, a bit of an error on my part last week, but players can now participate in a bunch of fun ReZero events in MapleStory, plus the Meso market is now live as well. Players can now trade NX for Mesos and Mesos for NX. Given how we've seen a system like this being implemented in Blade and Soul and a bunch of other games, I'm surprised it took Nexon this long to add a similar system. Right along, Quake Champions started its large-scale open beta test today. Anyone who wants to play the game can do so for free during the testing period, which lasts until May 21st. The game will be free to play at launch sometime later this year, but you can play it again until May 21st. You can only play one hero though, which is unfortunate unless you buy the game. I do think it'll be that way when it launches too. You can only get one hero, but you can rent other heroes by earning in-game currency, or if you buy the game, you get access to all the heroes. Right along, bit of news for Final Fantasy XI. Yes, an oldie. Square Enix is bringing back Final Fantasy XI's 14-day trial with some serious restrictions. Character data is deleted 90 days after the trial ends unless players end up subscribing. You can also reach level 50, and you can only access content that was included in the initial Final Fantasy XI release. Still, it's nice that players can now try the game without committing to buying it. So if you never played Final Fantasy XI and you don't mind older graphics, it's probably worth checking out. I have friends that swear by it and it's their favorite game even to this day, so if you never played it, maybe give it a try now for free. The next and last bit of news is a bit of an odd one. Allods Online is getting a second free-to-play server, as well as running a contest for players to help name it. I say it's odd because the game's servers are always on low population, which begs the question, why do they need a second server when their current servers aren't really that busy? My.com seems to answer that question by saying it allows returning players and new players to have a new experience without having to play catch up to existing players. And there's definitely some merit to it as well. Everyone kind of starting off fresh is a nice feeling, but I'm curious if Allods has enough player base to even have this server busy, or it might just be completely empty. But regardless, that new server is coming soon, and players can help name it by submitting their favorite names up until May 19th. Somebody should submit the MMOs.com server for Allods. That would be nice. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO news this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later guys.